happened to me. Marshall High School, West Side Chicago, when in the 90s, that shit was fucked up. I was like, I'm not going to Marshall. I'm not going to that shit. Right? Period. I'm not finna be getting chased home and have to create these alliances with all these goofy ass niggas to try and do this and do that. Fuck that. I'm out. Right? And so the instant that I got a pathway to go somewhere else, I was out. And I feel like every kid should do that if you have those opportunities. If you ain't got those opportunities, that's different. But at the end of the day, look at what you playing with. You playing with your life. You playing with your life and your safety. Right? Versus what? Versus proximity and efficiency or convenience? Nigga, your life. If it's that fucked up, like niggas is dying and niggas is pulling pistols and pulling straps and got beef and shit, trying to force you to join a gang and shit like that, then you need to leave. You know, period. Like, you need to leave. Fuck what your mama talking about. Fuck what your daddy talking about. You need to leave. Like, you need to make a decision to be like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not doing that. Right? And bust a move somewhere else. And then you figure out how you need to reconfigure your life and your circumstances and your comings and goings so you eliminate that threat from your life. Kids, teenagers are smart enough to understand when there's a threat. They may not just feel they're able to do anything about it because they're not empowered. Right? So you got to empower these little motherfuckers by, look, man, that's something that you could do about this, and forget this manhood, pride, ego shit. That shit gonna get you killed quicker than the shit you worried about getting you killed. That shit'll get you killed quicker than that nigga getting you killed. Your own outlooks and personality situations. So I always tell niggas, if death is the shit that you worried about, like death, like these niggas it could possibly escalate. We 2 degrees away from death. Man, get the fuck up out of there. You know what I'm saying? So no matter where I'm at, if I'm in the hood, if I'm in the slums, if I'm in the ghetto, if I'm in wherever the battlefield, a motherfucker pull up to me, pulling it, we finna settle what we got right here. Like, you finna learn today. And then we gonna figure out the rest of the repercussions after the fact. But in this moment, if you bring that shit to me, I'm fucking you up. And that's how your mentality should be. Don't stand there and take no ass whooping. Now, if you feel some shit coming, you shouldn't be in that hood no motherfucking way. You shouldn't be going to visit that bitch. No way. Right? Tell that motherfucker to come to where you at. Tell him to meet you where you at. You go somewhere where you feel safe. Don't even play around going into spots where you don't feel secure. If you feel like that's a possibility, don't go get food over there, or don't go get such and such over there. Find another place if the shit's that real. Like, if it's that real. Like, man, we go over here, motherfuckers trying to fight us. Fuck that food. Go get food somewhere else. Go hit up another hood. Go do this. Go do that. Don't just slide into what this mentality that you tough and strong and it's Sparta and fuck niggas. That shit gonna get you killed. You know what I'm saying? Any advice on guiding a defiant 2-year-old? I mean, I don't have kids, so I can't really speak to that thoroughly. But I do have nephews, and I've taught kids and done little shit like that. I think one of the things that we're facing right now as a society as a whole is like kids have too much access to too many options, right? There's too many options, right? And there's not like enough like there's not enough. I don't want to say this isn't with everybody, but it just feels like the case from examples that I've seen. People be too busy for kids, right? Like, I feel that if you, like, kids, if you're going to have a kid, you need to be with that little motherfucker 24/7 for at least the first 5, 6, 7 years of this little motherfucker's life, right? Simply because you're going to passing him or her around to all these different slots and spots. They're who they gonna be allegiant to, right? If you keep pushing over here, now they going to preschool, now they going here, now they going there, now they going here, now they going here, now we doing this, now we doing this, then we watch TV, then we doing this, then we doing this. It's too much stimulation, too much people vying to be the leadership role, and that shit might not be you, right? So you thinking that you got the leadership role and you got command and authority over this little motherfucker, and really it's TV, or really it's chocolate, or really it's the preschool teacher, or really it's the aunt, or really it's this. It's really with the person who let them get away with shit. So you trying to be this authoritarian figure, but it's like you ain't did enough, just time on the clock to represent a leadership role to this little motherfucker. So he or she just finna be out of just right. But how can you blame them? You all over the motherfucking place. So I feel like that is a piece, understanding that is you gotta be with this thing. Like look out into the world. Like look out into nature. Like when animals have kids, like they be with that motherfucker, be by their side. Right? And when it's time to break off on some survival shit, that's a little bit different. But mom ain't giving it to no other lion in the jungle, some shit like that. It's like, nah, you with us. You gonna learn this shit through us. So that's the way I kind of look at it, you know. But again, I don't have children and stuff like that, so I can't speak to it. There's probably somebody who could speak a little bit deeper than that shit. But I would say that you got to understand that it's a lot of things vying for the attention of a kid that's stronger than you, right? You ain't as eloquent as the television. You're not as visually stimulating as TV. You're not as appealing to the taste, to the sense of taste and the sense of smell and all this other stuff that this little dude or gal or little motherfucker is trying to get articulate and learn life through. And you may not be the example. You might be a great person who gave birth to them, but you might not be the best person to raise that little motherfucker. Especially if you're trying to project your own kind of sense of what you want that little person to be. That little person is not you. That little person is a sum of its environment. And unless you're putting that kid in an environment where you really want them to be, that's not in opposition or contradiction, because kids can pick up on contradictions and things that are in opposition. So if you're putting them in an environment and you don't know how to articulate what you want them to be, those ideas into actual physical boundaries and things and objects in the space of that little kid, then the fuck. So that part. But again, I could be all the way wrong, but I mean, it is what it is. Sorry, I didn't mean to pick that one. Knife brands you recommend knife martial arts to study. First, never get into a knife fight, ever. Never get into a knife fight. never ever get into a knife fight. First, never ever get into a knife fight. Okay? Run from a knife fight. Don't ever get into that shit. I don't care what somebody brought up Kali. Listen, I have high levels of respect for Kali and Eskrima and the Filipino fighting arts and knife fights and shit like that. I'm gonna say this one more fucking time. Never ever get into a knife fight. If a nigga pulls a knife, run. Fuck all that. Don't get into a full-on engaged knife fight. It's the stupidest type of fight that you could ever get into, and you're gonna get stabbed. I don't give no fuck how much, whatever you know. If you get into a knife fight, you finna get cut. And you don't want to run the risk of your body being cut in any shape, way, or form. Period. You don't know what that shit's finna do. So don't get into a knife fight. Alright? If you're gonna get a knife, I personally use K-Bar. Those are the Army Ranger Special Forces knives. The fighting knife. Like, I use those. Right? Because they're good. You can throw them really well. If you had to get into some type of close engagement where, not into a fight, but if you had to, anyway, I'm not going to say what I'm going to say next. But if you, it's just more, a little bit more utilitarian. You can use it as a hammer. I mean, you could use it within a fight, stuff like that. So I personally choose to use K-bars. They're a little long. You should definitely have a fixed edge knife. You shouldn't get like a foldable, collapsible knife. They have their place, but you should focus on maybe getting the fixed edge knife so that shit doesn't collapse on you. You don't have to worry about opening it. You can just draw and do whatever you need to do. Is a knife a good defense weapon? Yes. But should you get into a knife fight? No. You should not try and get into a knife fight. You should run from a knife fight. A knife martial arts to study, right, is, it's not, I mean, there are arts that focus on knives to a degree. There's some arts within in Japanese arts. There's arts within, almost every culture has some type of knife fighting thing, right? I personally like just standard U.S. military style knife fighting situations because it's very basic. It's very simple and it's very to the point. And for instance, keep the knife in front of you. Keep your knife hand in front of you. So that if that person, whoever it is, they have to come through a knife to get to you, right? So you will want to keep, if this is the hand your knife is in, you want to keep it out in front of you. Don't do this underhand shit like that. That's more for a stabbing, but don't do that. Keep that bitch out in front of you like this and make that person have to go through that knife to come and get you. That's like one rule. From that, you can branch off into all kinds of shit. Right? But that's like one of the main rules with knife fighting. Like, you don't keep it back here and like I'm a surprise and poke you or some shit like that. Like, you keep that shit in front of you. That's defense and offense happening simultaneously. Because if that person is defending you, right? But it's also if that person attacks, they're going to come through a knife. So, that part. But never get into a knife fight. Like, fuck that. That shit is. There's this great video on YouTube where this guy was talking about how his instructor came and they were going to do a knife fight. It's like, we're going to do knife fight training today. And they put on a white hoodie and gave the dude a red Sharpie. Right? And then it's like, okay, go. And then they went in and started da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Man, when dude was done, that Sharpie was red all over. There's Sharpie all over his body. That just goes to show you that there is no defense. There is no, you finna get stabbed in a knife fight. You just better hope you stab this motherfucker more than they stab you. And I don't want to have, that's like a zero-sum game. You know? So don't fight. But get a K-bar. K-bars are good. I fuck with K-bars. They're a little bit pricey, but I like the stability. They're a little bit long. You definitely probably find better, shorter versions if that's what you're looking for. But, you know, at the end of the day, nice little K-bar situation. Hopefully something fixed blade. And if you do get something that's like a flip knife or a spring loaded or some shit like that, you want a least amount of moving parts is kind of the point, where you don't have to do an extra step to get to where you need to be outside of drawing it, right? So if I have a K-bar and you got like some flip knife or some weird butterfly bullshit, all I gotta do is pull and I'm ready. You gotta pull and do some other shit. And in that moment while you doing that other shit, I'm on the approach. You know? Cool. Is there any point in voting in a red state? Depends on what level we talking about. Again, what level we talking about? Swing states are the most important for sure. Please don't let niggas try and tell you that that's not the case. Swing states in terms of national voting for the president type shit are more important than your red state or your blue state, which is kind of locked into that wherever they're going to vote for. With that said, it still is important for Senate races, for congressional races, for all of the other kind of national politic races below the president, right? At the president, it starts to get a little weird, and the focus kind of gets on just these particular states versus everybody in America needs to be campaigned to, because you kind of already know. You've already kind of aligned yourself politically, whether you believe it or not. Your family or you have already kind of aligned yourself politically by the choice of by the state that you kind of chose to live in, right? So people who have more liberal ideas, they're going to tend to move towards more liberal states. People who have more conservative ideas, they're going to choose to lean towards more conservative states, etc. So a lot of you have already made your kind of political choice by just the way where you live at in America and where you choose to live or tend to live, whether it be in the city or whatever the fuck it is, right? So you like, I'm not moving to fucking Birmingham, Alabama, right? Some of you have made that decision because you don't want that type of energy. You want a more liberal type of energy, so you're going to move to Atlanta, or you're going to move to Chicago or LA or New York, whatever the fuck it is, right? So it is important. There is something to the congressional districts, which is important. Winning the House or winning the Senate as a Democrat, your states, for instance, your state might vote red for the president, right? But you could potentially have blue Democratic senators, and people in the House of Representatives if they're up to run. Or you can have blue prosecutors, or you can have blue, liberal, more Democratic kind of other positions in elected officials, which are important, maybe more important than who the president is to you on a daily basis. So you don't want to overlook that. I always say that local voting and regional voting, state voting is more important than on a daily basis for you than it is national politics. National politics is a whole different monster. And there's some of the things that once beyond the president, you don't really control anyway, and you just hope that the president is going to put people into the different cabinets and the different spaces that align with your political outlooks. But that may not be the case. There's no guarantee for that to happen, and the president is not going to make you any guarantees that that's the case. People can change their minds. People can leave cabinets. New motherfuckers come in. So that shit. But on a local level, state level, yes, you should definitely vote, and voting matters, even if you're in a red state. If you know what I'm saying? Yes. Do you think the Electoral College should be disbanded? There was some good reasons why the Electoral College existed. And I think it might be in a arena now where the reasons that the Electoral College was a good idea has kind of ran its course, right? Because at one point, horses and carriages was a good idea. But then something else came along and made that shit obsolete, right? And horses and carriages came with a whole bunch of other bullshit or horse shit, literally, in the streets and filth and disgust. And then the car came along and kind of eliminated that aspect, but it added another element to the shit. It added pollution and, accidents and shit like that. You had horse and carriage accidents, I'm sure, but still. Did you have horse and carriage accidents? You had to have horse and carriage accidents. Motherfuckers getting hit by a carriage or ran over by, who knows, horses breaking loose, going crazy in the streets. Stung by a mosquito. Anyway, what the fuck am I talking about? So yes, there's certain parts of it that may still be relevant, and there's other parts of it that may be obsolete. So at this point, I think definitely that the Electoral College should be up for real serious discussion about, are we going to keep this institution from now on out in the society in which we live in today? Like Thomas Jefferson, bitch ass, ain't alive, right? None of the dudes who wrote this shit are alive anymore. Like, they're not going to feel the consequences. And it's so stupid that we still try to adhere to the whims and the feelings of bullshit niggas that lived 300 years ago who were fully racist. So I think it's definitely one of those institutions that should be brought up for discussion. I don't think that it's set in stone. And I think that it has these weird things about it that make it obsolete in today's climate. Especially with the way that the country is chopped up and the way districting works and all this other old shit. It's not representative of the people, right? So there's other aspects of it where you can have the underrepresentation in populations where there's a massive amount of people. Like this idea that 2 senators from each state is bullshit, right? So it becomes like, why is that bullshit? Because you can have a state like fucking, I forgot what it was, a state with a very small population. The whole population of the whole fucking state is a city in another state, or 2 cities in another state, the whole fucking state. And that they still get equal representation in Congress, representing a very small percentage of people, right? So it's things like that as it relates to maybe super delegates in certain states. Like these states, they don't have the population. They shouldn't be allowed to control or be in those positions to control the outcome of an election being a minority compared to the rest of the fucking country. So that's kind of one of the pieces and parts that needs to kind of be adjusted and removed. So it's not even just electoral colleges, but it's also number of senators per state, all that shit. I think they tried to say that in the House, right? The House of Representatives is the way to kind of get through that because it's representation in Congress. But as we can see, the motherfucking Senate has way more power than the House of fucking Representatives, right? And so it's that mismatch of representation where all the search for equality, right, fucks you out of equity because you're so bent on equality. Right? And it's like, no, we shouldn't be equal because we ain't got the same amount of people. So the decisions that are made on the national level are going to affect massive amounts of population, concentrated people in certain concentrated populations, versus your bullshit little farm state. So Armenia and Azerbaijan. What is the background to that? Armenia is a Christian country. Azerbaijan is an Islamic country. So at some of its roots, it is a religious conflict. There is a zone, kind of a contested territory in between Azerbaijan and Armenia. I can't pronounce the shit, but it's like a weird name that globally has been identified as being a part of Azerbaijan. The problem with it is that it's an Azerbaijani quote unquote territory, but it's filled with ethnic Armenians, right? So it's this kind of like, should this be Armenia, to this question we just talked about, right? You got more people of this particular population here. Why is this group over here able to claim authority over this when we got more people? So this place is overly represented by Armenians, underrepresented by Azerbaijanians. Why is this place under the rule of Azerbaijan? In that space, I think there's some oil shit and some money shit. Wherever there's war, there's money. So there's some money I think oil pipeline shit, and that's kind of like the claim, right? Same thing with like South Sudan and Sudan. It's like the oil is in this one part. You know, we feel, why should we have to share this shit with the rest of you motherfuckers? That's the piece. So hopefully it gets, there's a great understanding of it. There's an old Caspian Report. I don't know if any of you watch Caspian Report. It's a YouTube channel where they do global politics. They did an old Caspian Report. They might have a new one up now because this is flaring up. But they did an old Caspian Report about this kind of contested territorial zone. And it's kind of one of the underreported kind of conflicts in the world. But it is real and it is there. So, you know, that's kind of as much as I know about that space. So there's this religious piece to it. There's this financial piece. There's a population aspect to it. You know, and it makes you think, like, for the sake of conflict, why wouldn't you just secede the territory to Armenia, since it's populated a majority by Armenians? But the financial piece to that is you will also secede or give up a certain financial interest to the benefit of Azerbaijan as a whole, right? So it's a weird spot to be in. Do you pay more in taxes than the president? Yes, actually I do. At least federal income taxes for sure. I don't know what his state income taxes are. I know the income taxes in Florida can be some bullshit, but I mean, yeah, a lot of rich people go to Florida because of the taxation shit. They set up residence there, but they don't really live there. Like, they just there to take advantage of the tax situation, and then their federal income tax shit is a whole nother shit. But he's talking about he's posted all these losses, but he's also inflated all this bullshit. So, you know, at the end of the day, I'm sure he's lost. I'm sure Donald Trump has lost more money than me. So that's kind of like that's to balance the shit out. Like, this motherfucker has lost probably billions of money. How the fuck you lose hundreds of millions of dollars? But I know people who've lost hundreds of millions of dollars. Fucking crazy. So he's lost a bunch of fucking money just to bad investments and shit like that. So there is something to that. But yes, he should be. If you're a billionaire, if you are a billionaire from whatever the fuck you want to calculate it, and you only paying $750 in federal income tax, that's horse shit. That's bullshit. The other side of that equation is that, did you know that like the 1% of the world, they're responsible for like 25% of the global emissions of like carbon and bullshit into the environment? The 1% is responsible for contributing 25% of the carbon emissions and bullshit that we pump into the atmosphere. How is that possible? Because they got more shit than we do. They go on more trips than we do. They do more traveling. They got more phones. They got more shit than we got. And them having all of this shit pushes out more shit into the world. What are your thoughts on grounding, bare feet on earth? I think it's actually really good. I think shoes fuck us up. Shoes, they fuck up our posture. They fuck up our backs. They fuck up the way we walk. There's overcorrection that takes place. And your body knows how to handle this shit, right? And for the most part, you didn't really need shoes, except for when you're walking on like sharp rocks and sharp shit like that, or doing long traverses and shit like that. Even now, you can't wear shoes. You can't go barefooted on the street because you'll fuck your feet up. Because the street is actually razor fucking sharp. I don't know if razor sharp, but it's super sharp. Just outside in your street, you go out there, that shit's rough as shit. So there's certain terrain that you can't wear shoes on. I mean, that you need to wear shoes on for sure. But for the most part, I mean, at a certain level, you need to create that relationship for the sake of your posture. Like, I'm sure a bunch of our backs are fucked up. We think that it's from like human beings just have bad postures. No, because we wear fucking shoes with all type of air bubbles and contours and shit that's built for basketball and marathon running and fucking tennis and shit like that. We're not playing tennis just walking down the fucking street, right? Like, you're not jumping around walking down the street normally. And that shit fucks you up. Fucks your knees up. Fucks your whole bipedal motor system up, right? So I think the benefits of shoes outweighs I think the benefits of shoes don't outweigh the damage that shoes as a whole do to your body. And it's something that's so subtle that we don't even really think about. And I'm talking about all shoes, sandals, flip-flops, motherfucking anything that distorts the way you walk naturally or the way you interact with the ground fucks up your body. And shoes are an artificial thing that are not present in nature. I think that at a certain pace you were born with or had access to all the shit that you needed. But this super high-tech, bubble bouncy bullshit that niggas is running around in is fucking people up. Same thing with clothes, right? A certain level of clothes is fucking us up. You know, restricting ourselves to kind of fit into certain shapes and like covering up certain parts of our bodies, like denying access to like the sun and the elements and shit like that. Like, that shit's fucking us up. It adds a protection, but the flip side of that is it adds a protection against insects and like malaria and shit like that. That's real. Creates a barrier to that. But it's like, it has to be a balance, right? So it's like, should you have to wear that shit all day when you're in an environment where that's not the case? If you're in a jungle, absolutely, right? But if you're not like in the jungle all the fucking time, you know, do you need to have on these layers of expeditionary gear? Same thing with like coats and shit that we wear. Like, we're not on the top of a fucking mountain. Like, we don't need to wear something that's pressurized at, you know, whatever, 10,000 feet and sub-zero temps and all this other old goofy shit. Like, that does something to your body. It might be great to equalize you or create an environment around your body when you're at that particular altitude or in that particular shit. So niggas walking around in mountain boots and all kinds of shit, fucking they shit up. Fucking up your homeostasis. Not to mention these materials and the dyes and the chemicals and the fucking cleaning products and all of this shit that's seeping into your skin and shit like that from wearing this shit. Plastics breaking down and all kinds of goofy shit. So. Do you think running is a good way to lose weight, or do you think the wear and tear on your joints is not worth it? I don't think running is worth it, personally. What's your name? Eric Villegas. I'll get to your question too, Ashley, about survivalists. But yeah, I don't think running is worth the damage that it does to your body. I think that you can get the same amount of like activity and shit like that. And again, if you're like a fat ass, running's not finna fucking help you. Like, you need to stop eating. It's a calorie situation. It's not like a running situation. You didn't get fat by not running. You got fat by eating bullshit. So even on that level, I mean, it's good to have a certain level of activity, but again, that shit comes at a price. And that price is your knees and your hips and your back and your feet. Right? Like, don't get it fucked. Don't think running is free. And whether you're running on a treadmill or you running outside or you doing marathons or hikes, like, that shit is going to take a toll on your body. And you should really think about that toll. Right? In some cases, you'd be better off walking. Right? Something that's a little bit more natural than running. Right? Because running is like when you're in a space where something's fucking chasing you, right? And you have that burst and you go, right? To evade or get away from this shit, right? But you're not meant to just run all fucking day. Like, your body's not designed for that shit. Right? So you be better off just walking. And that's what some people tell you. Just walk. Like, go walk 30 minutes, walk out 30 minutes and then walk back that 30 minutes. And you got an hour of walking that you just did. And as long as you don't come back and eat a fucking donut, I mean, you'll incrementally like start to see changes, right? But just hitting that shit and running, the damage you're going to do to your body ain't going to be worth how you look, right? Like, I look good, but your knees is shot. You're like, well, but I look good, right? But your knees is shot. And I'm telling you, I don't give a fuck what you're thinking right now, how young you think you are, and you can jump out the gym. You're going to hit a wall. It may be sometime in your 30s. You might hit that shit in your late 20s. But you're going to hit that wall. And you're going to hit that bitch knees first. Some backs. Them knees and them shoulders, man, listen, you gonna, right? You gonna wish, like, I should have never did that shit. Right? So, if I were you, these athlete-ass niggas running around here like, yeah, you gonna hit 100 miles, David Goggins and shit like that. Goggins' body is fucked up. Like, I've listened to, like, a ton of this nigga's interviews and speeches and podcasts. I listen to all that shit. I follow him and I get motivated and fuck niggas and stay hard. I'm with that shit. His body is fucking destroyed. Right? So, as much motherfuckers think they want to be out here running 35 miles a day, every day, that shit gonna come back and bite you in the ass. And you not Goggins, nigga. Goggins is crazy, right? That motherfucker's crazy. You not that. Alright? So you not crazy like that. So if you not crazy like that and you trying to do all this extra shit, when you hit that wall, my nigga, ooh, shit. So anyway, Ashley Jones was asking about being a man. Usman, what's the alternative, bro? I told you to walk to build muscle. Why are you building muscle? And let me stop. You can do strength training and build muscle This hypertrophy bodybuilding shit is bullshit. Unless you're trying to be Mr. Olympia, or unless you're trying to be like just Mr. Swole, and that's your life, fine. But if you just as the average person who not trying to do that bodybuilding shit is going to fuck you up. It's going to fuck you up. So what you would want to do is just do strength training, right? Do some real basic shit to just keep, to incrementally over years get strong, right? And to build muscle and build muscle that your frame can maintain, and that your diet can maintain, and that your hormones and your joints and all that shit can maintain. All this 1,000 rep hypertrophy, going to gym, kill your motherfucking self, going to gym 5 times a week, legs day, back day, that shit gonna fuck you up. Right? And, you know, somebody said you big to beat a motherfucker up. Just because you big, that don't mean you strong. You still get your ass knocked out. The bigger you get, the slower you get. Quick motherfucker come whoop your ass real quick. Don't get it confused. You're not finna be able to put all them muscles into one punch and just clear a nigga clean out the gym. Some big fat motherfucker gonna walk up and just grab you and hold you. You ain't gonna do nothing. So really take into consideration what you're actually trying to do with your body, and understand that it's going to be a cost to that. Now, if you want some, I don't know shit, come on, man. Bring your pussy ass to the gym. Tell me I don't know shit. So you can tell these niggas. I actually like when people do this to give me a chance to get my aggression off. My intellectual aggression. I don't know shit. Now you don't want to come to the chat. Trust me. Don't let these niggas who 24 or 19 going in the gym lifting all kinds of dumb shit tell your 30-year-old ass or your 29-year-old ass that you can go do the same thing. You're going to be in the gym fucked up. Don't, again, trying to chase these niggas up the street, you're going to be fucked up. That's them niggas' jobs. They trainers. These niggas own gyms and shit. They trying to get the money from you. Like, they gonna tell you, nah, it's cool, man. Come on in. Yeah, man, we're finna do 100 motherfucking reps. Come on, man. We're finna do shit. They not telling you they on 18 kinds of drugs. Got all type of tape and shit holding them together. Then blew out all kinds of joints and had surgeries and shit like that. They not telling you that shit. Right? They not telling you that shit. They gonna then motherfuckers trying to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, I ain't been in the gym and threw my motherfucking back out trying to do deadlifts, right? But it take the world's strongest man to go on Joe Rogan and tell niggas, fuck deadlifts. The benefit that you're gonna get from it is not gonna outweigh the health of your fucking back. You're gonna be strong as shit laid up. What's the point of that? Doing curls in a hospital bed because you can't fucking move, but your arms look fabulous. Your pecs are impeccable, but you can't fucking walk. So, again, just like anything else, please know exactly what you're trying to get done. And don't let a nigga talk you into some extra superset bullshit to get cut or swole and all. Sit-ups are bad for you. Crunches are bad for you. This shit's stupid. Like, cause you're trying to get ripped in the stomach, nigga, you gonna fuck your back up. Right? I don't think people really appreciate your back or your